It's not often you get to see yourself portrayed in a movie. So what does Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak think of the Jobs film? He is with me now here in the studio. Thank you so much for stopping by. You saw the midnight showing last night. I am sure you were really interested to see what was going to be on screen. What did you think?
Well, I figured whatever it was, I'd probably be disappointed. I had high hopes, and I didn't want to talk to press, so I went to midnight showing so I could be alone. And what I thought, well, you know what? I had one of the most entertaining nights of my life last night because I saw a Brandi Carlile concert before the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, what about the movie?
The movie was, in my mind, it was. I thought the acting was great for the roles they were assigned. I don't think the movie covered the subjects. When you make a movie about something that's real in life, you can never get it like really the personalities right because you don't know how to read about a lot of the smaller personalities. You cannot get it right, but the concept of each scene, what it implies, should be right. And there were a lot of things wrong that I knew from myself with Steve Jobs and other people's relationship with Steve Jobs. In those days, it was not like that. When Ashton referred to OpenStep being a great attribution to Apple, that was correct. And OpenStep was when Steve Jobs came back mature enough to execute and know what was good and what was valuable and could sell and make the company something. It did not bring Apple to a higher valuation than it ever got to with the Apple II. The only product we had making money for the first 10 years, the entire time frame of the movie was really the Apple II, you know, and so Steve Jobs, the movie covers a whole period that doesn't fit what Ashton's talking about. The iPod was Steve Jobs' Apple II. That was a great product, and it was due to that incredible focus and care about the consumer and getting the right product. And that was great, and that was equal to the Apple II in value in dollars as well as, you know, its meaning to the world. Of course, we had to go open it up to Windows. We didn't say you have to have a Macintosh to use iTunes, for example.
So what do you think was the biggest mistake in the movie? What was the most misleading thing about it?
I think it was really Ashton has too much of this fan thing like a cult leader, and oh my gosh, Steve Jobs has always been the great top people, and could not see that he had a lot of flaws in knowing how to run things and execute and make products that were worthwhile during his time there.
So you're saying the movie overglorifies Steve
Sure.
Jobs?
Yeah, it didn't talk about a lot of things. When Steve it made it look like he's forced out of the company for no good reason, and it doesn't get into what the reasons really were. They didn't talk to any of the people. It's, you know, what was really going on in the company that was bad at the time. And, you know, you have to realize that Steve kept trying to make his own computer. My Apple II took the, by the way, he didn't take me to a homebrew computer club. You know, I had been there. There were people in the club that had my computer that I'd helped them build that were using it. I'd given it out for free to everyone before Steve even knew it existed. So these kind of things are all phony. Like, he's the one directing all of the wisdom and intelligence, and it was really coming from other people. He was a good filter for it, is better. In these time frames, he failed with the Apple III, he failed with the Lisa, he failed with the Macintosh. People don't know from that movie how deeply the Macintosh failed, how deeply our stock slid down, how we had to regroup quickly and build a Macintosh market over 3 years while we had huge revenues from the Apple II, and how Steve was trying to kill the Apple II in a lot of ways and do very unfair, unrealistic things to it. That's not known. There
are obviously so many twists and turns to the Apple story that I think would be impossible to get in a 2-hour movie. Let's talk about Ashton's portrayal of Steve. Did he get that right?
I actually liked his portrayal of it, and I felt it was a good choice to pick somebody who was into technology. You know, it's just he didn't understand he wasn't there living those times, or I think it would have been, a lot of things would have been portrayed very differently. And I don't know, it was the producer. I think Ashton was probably in a producer role as well in coming out with how Steve should treat other people.
So what did he do right, and what did he do wrong?
There were very good, intelligent people that did not deserve the demeaning character that Steve put on them. Mike Markkula, who funded us, he was Steve's mentor. He was the one that taught Steve how to run and build a company. It wasn't vice versa, you know. It wasn't like Steve's working the deals on this guy who's been around the block for, you know, a lot of time.
Is Ashton over-glorifying Steve Jobs, or has the world over-glorified?
In the time frame that people are interested in, the early days of the company, yes, he's over-glorifying him and not getting to the truth. And it's based upon the great Steve Jobs that came back mature, capable of executing. That means actually accomplishing visions. Steve had great vision of things like the Macintosh. by the way, in the movie, they showed Steve like so important and Jeff Raskin running our Macintosh group as being kind of nothing. Jeff Raskin's the one who took us to Xerox PARC Center. He's the one that had been, you know, taught classical music in universities as well as was a technician. He brought human versus technology, human over technology into Apple and into the world, and he was treated like so shabbily in the movie. No, I didn't like seeing a lot of people I know not get the respect that they deserved in their relationship of really giving Steve Jobs the goods.
What about Josh Gad's portrayal of you? It's not often you get to see yourself played in a movie.
I think the way the role was written, there were a lot of things in there that never happened. Me leaving Steve Jobs, you know, and saying stuff. But I think he played it very well. Yeah, I think he acted well. I was glad they chose a good actor. As a matter of fact, most of the actors in there I thought did a very good acting job, and that means a lot to me when I see a movie. It just, something about it wasn't a story of one strong conflict and suspense. You're waiting for the end that really got to me, that made me, you know, want to recommend it more than mild entertainment.
Okay.
And I did laugh at places. Boy, did I laugh when they made a joke about I was carrying my own weight, because I was skinny back in those days. But I laughed because I like good jokes. It's good humor. I even laughed when I told some Polish jokes.
Well, good. I'm glad there are some lighthearted moments in the movie. Steve, you have been talking nonstop through the break about this. You are so fired up about it. You think that the movie got a lot of things wrong, and yet Ashton Kutcher has said you didn't consult on this movie. Why not? You were offered, they offered to have you come in and consult with them and tell them more about what really happened, but you decided not to. Why not?
Sure. I got an early script. I read it. My wife read it, and we were kind of abhorred by it. And if somebody else has started a creative process of designing something, writing a script, you don't come in and, oh, push them out, and it's got to be this way. There's no way you can correct it. It was a hard job. Secondly, I just did not like certain things in that script at all, some because they were so wrong from the truth.
Why not tell them they're wrong?
Why not tell them? I have a very busy life, and it came at a very busy time in my life when I traveled the world giving speeches, hardly ever home. So I also had a busy time, but they wanted to pay money. And so did the Sorkin film.
Right, so you are consulting on Aaron Sorkin's film, which has not been titled, it's in process.
I am consulting, and you know what? As far as I know, there's no script written. In other words, they will take the input from the first-hand sources and create a script from it, rather than a first-hand source coming in, can you modify our script a little here and there? That wouldn't have worked. It was.
So how is that project going?
So you know what? I saw a trailer about the Ashton Kutcher film, and it was so wrong and backwards of Steve directing something towards me when it was really the opposite in real life. And you know what? And I commented about that. And he headline said that I said the movie was crappy. I never said that once, because I don't say it till I see it. And so Ashton Kutcher said that I was saying the movie was lousy because I was being paid by the other one. You know what? I don't do things. My principles aren't affected by money. In the movie, you'll see that there were a whole bunch of people that helped us start this company, hung around the garage and all. Those people got Steve Jobs, in the movie Steve Jobs, it was really not Steve Jobs himself, said they don't get any stock and we at the top get all of it. So you know what I did? I took my stock and I gave them huge blocks. I'm not
right, you gave people your own stock. We know that story really well. What words do you have for Ashton Kutcher? What would you like to say to him?
You know what? I'm really easy to get a hold of. He could have called me and consulted over the phone anytime. I got from Daniel Kotke, who's a star in the film and a consultant, I got the email address of his management company to email him to tell him I had not said that the movie was lousy because I hadn't seen it, you know, and I never got an email back.
So what was Steve Jobs really like? How visionary was Steve Jobs? He always took the role of, you have to somehow think higher level thoughts and put this air of mystique on, which is vision. And it's got to be, and is your vision accurate? He was not that good at executing, in other words, coming up with a vision that was makeable into profits today. A product that people wanted enough that a company could make a profit on it. He wasn't until he returned. Then he was more stable and exercised and into the operations of a company. Then was he a visionary?
He understood it. Well, he was a visionary before. No, he was a visionary with the Macintosh and seeing this was the future. You know what? There were a whole bunch of us that were the visionaries. Jeff Raskin, who took us there, and Bill Atkinson, and we all saw it and said, oh my, once you have this, you'll never go back. How can we make it at a price it can sell? The Lisa cost $20,000 of today's dollars, $10,000 then. It's shown in the movie. That's too much for a personal computer. If you wait a few years, the prices come down, and now it's affordable. And we kind of gave Microsoft the idea to do it once it was affordable.
Steve, do you think Steve Jobs gets too much credit?
Oh, no, I never try to think that. No. Well, sometimes in some areas,